Hey everybody, this is Diana Zenny here with Think Crunchy. I'm excited to be hosting my dear friend Allison Converse today with Calm Cottage Coaching. And I know she has some amazing content and some great tips for us. So I'm just going to kick it right over to you, Allison. I can't wait to hear what you have to share. And please give us a little introduction on yourself.
Yes, so I'm gonna share my screen and let me see if it's gonna work. Oh, now it's saying you need to enable it.
Okay, I can do that.
But I'm Allison Converse with Calm Cottage Coaching, and I am going to share my screen so I can tell a little bit about what I do. There we go. Okay, so it's not too late for a clutter-free life. Um, We're going to go through what is decluttering and why it's not working for you, how decluttering impacts neurodivergent and working moms and women, the importance of decluttering and how it impacts your emotional and mental health, the benefits of decluttering and how to begin your decluttering journey. What is Calm Cottage Coaching? How can we serve you best? And how has Calm Cottage Coaching helped others? So hello, I am a clutter-free coach, a crunchy mom of two. That's my family right there. My daughter is neurodivergent and so am I. So I have always had a passion for helping other people with their mental health and neurodiversity. I love the beach and my business is my creative outlet. That's one of my favorite parts is designing spaces for my clients and help them problem solve through their struggles. So my decluttering journey, I have a background as an occupational therapist for 10 years. I worked through part of the pandemic and then I got burnt out in the hospital
Yeah.
setting and um, there was a lot going on. So I did end up leaving my job later on. But first I did in 2019 start helping um, decluttering my own spaces, helping my family. And I do bring a lot of my occupational therapy background into how I work with my clients. So I used to help a lot of my patients in the hospital with discharge planning and the safety and going back to their home. So modifications in their home and such. So a lot of that I bring back into what I do now. But so 2019, I started to declutter my spaces, help my family. In 2021, I actually read a book called The More of Less by Joshua Becker. I highly recommend it. It opened my eyes to seeing how much stuff we really owned and how much of it we didn't really use, and how much, as humans, we place value on things that we own. So at the end of 2021, we decided to downsize and we went from 3,000 square feet to 1,600 square feet. Now we have over an acre of land and we got rid of half of our belongings. So the more I got rid of, the more the weight lifted off of me. I saw the benefits of living with less, including decreased anxiety and overstimulation. I didn't clean up as much, which was really nice. I had more time and I wanted to help others feel that same way. So almost 2 years ago, I launched Calm Cottage Coaching. Cannot believe it's been almost 2 years.
Wow.
So what is decluttering? Clearing spaces of clutter and excess stuff, removing unnecessary items. Some of you may be very aware of the clutter in your home, and some of you may not feel like you have clutter at all or it doesn't bother you. And then some of you may feel anxious and overwhelmed and stressed, and you may not know why. And sometimes that can be because of the stuff in your home. So what is holding you back? You may not know where to begin and or how to declutter, and that's okay. It's not something that comes naturally to everybody. So you're in the right place. And I understand that you're embarrassed to let people into your home. I hear this all the time. I see tons of houses, and this is always a judgment-free zone. And I promise I never stress about your overflowing drawers or your kitchen counters covered in stuff while I'm eating my dinner. I, I actually really enjoy seeing it because I can problem solve through like solutions for you. And maybe you tried it and it didn't work, so you feel like it's impossible or that you failed in your home. But I promise you're not a failure and decluttering is possible for everybody. So why is decluttering not working for you? Marie Kondo didn't work for you. Well, guess what? It didn't work for me either.
Ugh.
I love her methods, but it doesn't work for everybody, especially those with neurodivergent brains. You
Yeah.
bought the course, you read the books, but you couldn't make it work. You hired someone to come in and do it for you, but your home is a disaster again. You buy all these organizing items, but stuff is still spilling out of them. And you're comparing your home to a false reality on social media, which I know all of you see that.
Yes.
So, what is an organized home? Organization means each place has a home and an effective system for getting there. So organization does not have to be pretty. And most people think about like perfectly clean, mess-free, matching containers, color-coded, kind of like some of these pictures here. And
Mhm.
that's not typically realistic, is it? Not for those with kids at home. And
No, not
all,
for me.
yeah. And although these pictures are super beautiful, it's not realistic, and it actually can cause more stress and anxiety trying to fit in or getting into a comparison trap. So trying to live up to society's standards sets us up for failure. And plus, this may not be in your budget, and that's okay. I help a lot of clients work with what they have already, so they don't have to buy a bunch of stuff. And perfection isn't the goal, function is.
Mm.
So these are the top 5 home struggles for neurodivergent moms. I did a poll in some mom groups and kind of came up with these based on like over 50 responses, and it was super helpful kind of getting inside those neurodivergent moms' brains. So first of all, squirrel brain is when you get distracted easily and you skip from one task to another. Big emotions, we all have big emotions, but those that are neurodivergent feel them even bigger. And so that's when you get too overwhelmed, anxious, depressed, or you're too stressed to do it. And hyper focus is focusing on one task and getting really good at it, but then everything else doesn't get done. And transitions is going from laundry to dishes to kids' needs, and it seems impossible to keep up with it all. And task paralysis means you don't know where to begin or you just get stuck. And so you don't start at all. So does this sound like you at all? These are exact quotes from moms. I start cleaning one room, then I notice something else that needs to be done, and then I go to that thing and I forget about the first thing, and the cycle continues. It's very hard to transition from one activity to another. Getting ready in the morning is a nightmare. Getting housework done or even started, you just get overwhelmed and just spin and give up because it's too anxiety provoking. No matter how badly I want or need to do something, there's either no motivation or severe anxiety attached to it.
Mm. I see myself in one of those.
Which one do you want to share?
Yeah. So the first one, I'm very squirrely, I think. I
Yeah.
like I'm the one who will like take out the drawer and I'm like, it gets very, little by little, it starts to get a little more chaotic and then it gets to the point where I'm like, and then I just like dump the drawer. And then I have like all my little containers and I want to do it, but like I feel like I have to like literally sort every single thing, like every pencil versus pen versus the highlighters that go over there versus. And so it's like an 8-hour project because
Yeah.
everything has to be separated so much. And then I'm very meticulous about how it goes back in the drawer and all of that. But then in the interim, the kids are hungry. I have to take people places. I have to, check homework or whatever and make lunches and all the stuff. And so I come back and I'm like, oh man, that drawer is still all over my kitchen table.
Yes, I hear that all the time too. You're not alone in that at all. And I feel like that happens to so many people. And there's like such a simpler process than a lot of people are using.
Yeah,
So, but you're not alone. That's
that's
totally
good.
real life there.
Totally.
So being neurodivergent is your superpower. It's not your limitation. So I talk about this all the time. Being neurodivergent myself, a lot of people have a lot of, they just feel like they're limited because of this. Like if they have ADHD. So neurodivergence is having like ADHD, autism, depression, anxiety, mental health struggles. Your brain is just working differently than if you want to call normal people, but like I feel like there's a lot of people that struggle with mental health, especially since the pandemic. So,
Yeah.
so this can be your superpower. So problem solving, hyper focused, detail oriented, you're excelling at repetitive tasks. That all gives you the ability to declutter and complete home tasks. So let's think about your home a little bit. So what do you see when you look around your home? Is your laundry overflowing? Do you have toys scattered everywhere? Dishes piling in the sink? You can't find your keys again. You can't find your kid's favorite snack, pair of shoes, whatever the thing. You're literally tripping over your items in your home, and your desk is a mess and you can't find your favorite pen. So all the things you see in your home that presents like this leads to visual overstimulation.
Mhm.
And then it leads to you thinking things about yourself and about your home. You're thinking, my home is a mess. I'm failing at life. This is for real though. Like I get these thoughts still. Like, how does anyone keep up with this? I can't do this. I'm not a good mom. And you get in that comparison trap where you see someone on social media post that perfect living room with the light shining in and all the things, and it's just not looking like your home.
Right.
And that all leads to a false reality. So what we think affects what you do and how you feel. So what you do is you shut that door. You stuff everything in and you shut the door. You stuff everything in the drawer and you shut it and you don't want to think about it. So you don't want to deal with it. And it's just in there. Even though you know it's in there, you just leave it alone. You don't clean up, your kids don't clean up, you hire someone to come in, then the mess comes back. You take an organizing course, but then you don't implement it. And that's some things that you could be doing. And then what do you feel? You get angry or frustrated with your kids or your significant other. You're anxious, stressed, depressed, overwhelmed, overstimulated, stuck, shut down, burnout. And your kids can also feel this themselves.
Mhm.
And what you feel really affects your self-esteem and who you are as a person. So clutter doesn't just affect your physical home, it also affects your mindset. But
I think that is
yeah,
so
go ahead.
profound, Allison.
Oh,
Thank you for saying that out loud because I feel like a lot of us are just perpetually like a little bit overwhelmed. And I think articulating and realizing that it is in part at least due to all the stuff that's everywhere. It's like it really reframes it because you kind of think like, yeah, it's just stuff, it's no big deal, But when you see it constantly, I know exactly what you mean when you say that. Like I see it as I'm like unloading things and trying to do dishes and all of that. I'm like looking at my counter that's covered in the last 5 snacks that my kids pulled out or whatever, it like it really does wear on you and it's subtle at first and it's like this constant subtle irritation and it
yeah.
really does, it can impact absolutely how you're feeling. So I know that I see that in my life. But thank you for saying it that way because I don't think I would have perceived it so obviously. It's like just kind of in the background and I
Hmm.
see it and I know it bothers me, but like you saying it, I'm like, oh yeah, like maybe I would feel better if I did something about that. Or, my kids are a little bit older, they're 10 and 13. Why can't my 10 and 13-year-old be more responsible for putting their things away? They should be.
Right. Right. And a lot of what I teach too is how to like incorporate it throughout your whole family. Like, especially, I mean, you can start, it's never too late to start with your kids, but like I started when they were really little. So like they kind
Yeah.
of are in that habit of like, okay, it's time to get rid of something again, like,
Yes.
or like, oh, the toy bins are overflowing again, like,
Yes.
or like,
Yes.
yeah, so like, yeah, that's definitely a good point. And yeah, breaking it down like this, like, there's so much about the mindset that people don't even realize.
Yeah. Pretty amazing. All right. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, of course. And so, like, I teach that it's not about creating no mess at all in your home or having those perfectly organized containers. It's about
Mhm.
creating more function with less stuff. So, having those simple systems in place that work for you and your brain and your family. So, research shows that women who reported more clutter in their homes had higher levels of the stress hormone cortisol throughout the day compared to women who had less clutter. And research also shows that people with cluttered homes tend to procrastinate on important tasks. And we all know that if you have ADHD, you already are procrastinating, so it gets even worse. And then clutter can cause negative feelings about your home and yourself, just like we just talked about. So women are the gatekeepers of the home. yay us.
Yay.
We already have so much responsibility. And then we also are the gatekeepers. So whether you have kids or you don't, women are typically the gatekeepers to the home, and you have control over what comes in and what goes out. We are typically the ones that do the grocery shopping. And I'm not
Mhm.
discounting men in all of what I'm saying, like this all can apply to men as well, but um, I typically work with women, and women typically hold the shoulder of most of the responsibility in the home, most of the grocery shopping, most of the kid rearing and taking them places. So like we do, not to put more pressure on us, but we do have a little bit more control of what we bring in, whether it's the food we bring in, whether it's the toys we bring in, whether it's,
Yeah.
how, all those things. So why should you consider decluttering? Well, mom life is hard enough, and it's easy to get lost in the role of being a mom or a wife. And it's frustrating to not have enough time, not know where to begin, and feel too tired to declutter. And everybody's personal decluttering journey is going to look different, and yours may not necessarily look like mine. And I don't teach people to get rid of all their stuff or downsize their homes like I did. Unless that's something that resonates with you. So your why is going to go much deeper than I just need space or I just want less stuff. When I work with my clients, I dig deeper and we get into the root of what's going on. So sometimes it's the trickle of overwhelm. Sometimes it's the negative feelings that hang over your head and won't go away. Sometimes it's just time for a change, or you just don't want to clean up so much daily. So some of my clients' whys that have come out is not wanting to leave excess stuff behind when she's older for her adult child to have to go through, the
Mhm.
desire for each item to have a home in their home, being able to use a dining table again because it was covered in stuff, teaching her child at a young age the value of owning less, giving back, and learning organization, and for their bedroom to be a safe, peaceful place to retreat at the end of the day and not just like a stressful mess. So here are some benefits of decluttering. So I'm going to kind of go through these and ask some questions to kind of ponder about as you're thinking about this. But have you ever been sitting in your office or desk ready to work, but you felt stuck and you don't know how to start? You look around at all the papers, you can't focus. Well, how do you think your kids feel when their playroom is covered in toys? Sometimes they even move to a different room with a few toys that they love the best. It's because it's too overwhelming for them. And so having clutter actually decreases focus and attention. So a benefit of decluttering is to improve focus and attention. Another thing is, anyone else feel anxious when their kids start dumping toys all over the place? Visual clutter can cause increased overwhelm and stress. So it can overstimulate the mind and all of your senses. So decluttering actually decreases that visual clutter and overstimulation. And I know when my kids start bringing all the things out into the living room, I get overstimulated because they're like taking everything out. Like yesterday, they took everything outside. They wanted to bring all their toys outside, and then we had to take them all back in and put them where they go. So like,
Oh, boy.
although I
Of
teach this, we still have our struggles, and I'm not
course.
perfect. And there's still going to be some clutter and there's still going to be some overstimulation, but it's about like the maintenance of it and the management and having the systems in place so it's easier to clean up because my kids know where everything goes. Um, I got on a little tangent there, but
It's good.
so do you feel like you don't have enough time left in the day or to do one more thing? Well, once you start decluttering, you'll actually have more time to enjoy things you actually want to do. And do you feel like it takes all day to clean and organize your home? Like you're constantly cleaning the same messes over and over again, and it feels like there's no end. Well, maybe you just have too much stuff. So less stuff plus less cleanup equals more time for you. So did you know that some people don't even use or go into certain rooms in their home because there's so much clutter? It's too overwhelming for them. And a lot of us have a stuff it and shut the door mentality, which I already kind of touched on. So when that room is full of too much stuff, the brain's overstimulated and loaded with too many racing thoughts, which leads to that increased stress and anxiety. And have you ever noticed that after you take time to do a brain dump or journal, you typically feel a weight lifted? So that same feeling can happen when you declutter a space in your home. And the
Amazing.
the negative self-talk can spiral into a rabbit hole of
Mhm.
self-destruction, making you feel unworthy, lacking self-confidence, and continually putting yourself down when you didn't do anything wrong. A lot of these mindset beliefs stem from your childhood. So decluttering can actually help your mental health. Um, so
This is so deep, Allison.
thank you.
I mean, seriously, you think you're just going to be talking about like how to organize your room and nope. It's
Yeah,
like,
there's a
but it
lot.
all makes so much sense.
That's why I went into more coaching than, and I'll go into that in a minute, but like there's just so much more to clutter than people see on the surface. And so
Yeah,
I do dig deep with my clients, and we do go through some limiting beliefs and different things that
I love
are
it.
really holding us back.
Yeah, powerful.
So functional with less is best. So I teach my clients to start small with one box, one container, one drawer. Um, this flips your mindset that less actually means more. So more value, more space, and more time. And I just finished with a group of people with a spring clutter challenge. And so we started small. We decluttered over 5 days, a drawer, a cabinet, um, a counter, like they got to pick, and it was very small, very focused, went through my decluttering sorting steps, and there was a lot of big wins with the small spaces. So that was super fun. And I typically
Awesome.
try to do quarterly um, challenges.
Love that.
All right, so here are some obstacles that may get in the way of decluttering. So feeling overwhelmed or stressed, you're not sure where to begin. You get distracted easily, no energy or tired, and no extra time in the day. Well, there's unstuck strategies that I teach my clients that help combat these potential obstacles. So whenever someone's like, not sure where to begin, well, let's start with one bin or one space. Let's start with a category at a time. If you get distracted easily, using a timer is very effective. Setting it for
Mhm.
10, 20 minutes, and then focusing on that one task so you don't get that squirrel brain effect going all over the place. Taking breaks or having a snack with your water while you're doing the project, and completing in 20-minute time chunks. I always tell my clients, you do not have to declutter every day to get through your home. We can, we set up an action plan. We work through the steps together and make it doable. So starting small sets you up for success. So it improves your confidence, you get small wins, and it improves motivation to do more and tackle larger spaces. So 5 decluttering tips. These are just really easy ways to begin that journey and get you like a head start. So clearing off your counters nightly, keeping a donation box in your closet for items you might not wear anymore, you notice it doesn't fit, setting a timer and picking a space, tossing expired damaged items, and putting items back where they belong right away. So here are some tips for working women. So a lot of us out here are business women. You're started your own business, you're doing your own thing. And this is what I've found are really helpful tips. So every item needs a home. So if you can't find that paper that you needed yesterday, that's a problem. So knowing where things are helps you find what you need when you need it. Your environment really matters. Visual overstimulation, like we've talked about, is super real. And so having a cluttered office space or a home can really affect your focus and attention. Most used items need to be accessible. So I like to utilize wall space whenever possible. So shelves, filing, wall filing systems, baskets, that kind of stuff. Placing items within your reach. So making sure it's at eye level or right where you use the things the most. Um, and then in the same location of where the item is actually being used. So if you're have an office space, having your office supplies in that room and not down in the kitchen. And then having too much stuff creates dysfunction. So you want to be able to actually use the space and it be functional. And that's a super big priority for anybody working really. And you
Mhm.
want to be focused and productive. If your environment doesn't promote focus and productivity, it will lead to burnout, and decluttering is usually the answer. And burnout is actually really inevitable in our lives. I teach that a lot because a lot of people are like, oh, you can prevent burnout by doing this. And like, I just totally disagree with that. Nothing wrong with people who teach that, but like, I feel like we all get to a point of where we just burn out because we just have so much responsibility on us. So I think that's okay to acknowledge that we are burnt out or we are getting to a point of burnout. And there are ways to help it be a little bit less feeling.
Yeah.
So why is design of your space important? Kind of what I've already talked about, but design of the space improves function, it improves focus and productivity, it improves the organization and knowing where things are, and it improves that visual appearance to where you're not totally overstimulated. And like this drawer that looks perfect, it does not have to look exactly like that. It's just a good example of a visual of design. So my mission is to help you declutter, organize, and design spaces that create more rhythm, balance, and function in your home. And so why do I approach this as a coach and not a professional organizer? So I love professional organizers. I think they do an amazing job. They're very well trained. But I'm not going to be coming into your home and doing this for you. And I'm not an organizing fairy that's going to wave my magic wand and do it all for you. So why do I not do that? I like to declutter. I like to teach to declutter first and then organize. Because if you don't get rid of the excess stuff, what is the point of organizing? It will eventually spill out of the bins again, and you'll have the same issues you started with. Just organizing is not always sustainable. We dig deeper, like I've already said, into your mindset. What's holding you back? How to conquer the current and past fears and anxieties. Also, going into time management, self care, and the function and flow of your spaces. You get one-on-one accountability, support, encouragement that guides you through your journey. It's also very client centered. Every person's journey looks different. There's no cookie cutter like this. I mean, I have my steps, but it's not cookie cutter for everybody. And it's easier to maintain when you're in control. So sometimes it's harder for you to find things because the organizer thinks differently than you, and they placed it in a place where that just doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
Any questions so far?
No, I'm just thinking, we have someone once a month who comes and will help me with the cleaning and all of
Yeah.
that. But the process of getting ready for that person to come is very interesting. Sometimes we're on it, right? And so it's like for the week or two before she comes, we're like, all right, everybody, make sure your stuff is where it needs to be, and da da da, and we're good. Everything's good. And then some months, my kids have been traveling for competitions and they always come on Monday. So sometimes we get home Sunday afternoon, Sunday night,
Yeah.
and then we're like, oh my gosh, she's coming, and there's papers all of this stuff. And the solution, of course, because it has to get done before she can come and do her job, is that, everything gets just like shoved into drawers.
Yeah.
And then it will be weeks before we find that paper or that, I one time lost a library book for like 3 months because a kid was helping, and shoved it somewhere. And it was just, we just stumbled upon it. And, here I thought the book was for sure lost and all of that, but it was there. So I think I love what you're saying. I think just taking these like little steps and making it into a sustainable lifestyle is so important. And I think also what you said, I really resonated with about, we're all going to get overwhelmed and kind of burnt out at some point, right? Like life has these ebbs and flows, and sometimes things are calm, and sometimes everything's happening at one time, and we can't control for that. And I think accepting that it's a part of reality, but maybe not wallowing in it and not, seeing ourselves as like a victim, and just knowing like, hey, that was a brief time, and like now you can get back to it, and now you can, more order in your life. And I'm sure once you have all of these things implemented, it's a lot easier to rebound, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think with the cleaner coming in, I hear that so much. Like just even on mom groups, I'm like, oh my gosh, like people are
Queen of the
struggling
cleaner.
out there. Like, but everyone does that. Like when we used to have a cleaner at our other house because it was a lot bigger and it was so much to keep up with. And so like we would
Yeah.
have the cleaner come in and I felt like I was cleaning before they came.
Yep.
And it's like it's a thing. It happens. Like, yeah, so I've heard that a lot. So
Yeah.
that I'm glad you brought that up. So let's talk about why I do this virtual because maybe hearing me talk so far, you've thought, oh, I come into your home and I walk you through the process and maybe I'm making you, do it, but I'm there with you. But I do this all virtually and people are like, oh my gosh, well, I can't do this. Like, you got to come in here, do it for me or come in here and like, so I get a lot of objections. So I'm going to go through this very thoroughly and make sure you don't
Awesome.
have any questions. And that's okay. Like, I get it. I get the objection of like not wanting to do it yourself, but it really is empowering when you can do it with the support of somebody. So anyways, why virtual? There is actually more flexibility. We are all busy. And when are we not busy? Because I get that objection a lot. I'm busy, sorry, like maybe next month, like
Yeah.
but I give you the support you need in this busy times of life. And it's difficult to find the time to schedule someone to actually come into your home too, between work and mom life, and make time for what's important to you. So think about like what is really important. It's actually less of a time commitment. A lot of my coaching, well, all of my coaching is virtual, so it is completed through texting and video calls with me. Plus, decluttering can happen in the small cracks of time, and it doesn't have to happen every day to be successful with it. And you may also not be comfortable with or have the time to have someone actually come into your home. So there's an individualized action plan that we go through. So this is based on your availability, your schedule, and it can be anywhere from 1 to 6 hours a week of decluttering or using my strategies and tools. It's also less overwhelming because we work together to time chunk and block out time in your busy schedule to make this simple and doable. So I create a system that works with your brain, not against it. And there's no location restrictions. I can work with anybody.
Yeah.
Which is so fun. So I can work with anybody anywhere. So let's see, how do you work with me? Well, this is a comparison chart I put together of my 3 programs. And I can always send this to people if they need it, but it's on my website too. Um, so I have a design program. I have a jumpstart program. Jumpstart is 6 weeks long and Discovering Balance is 12 weeks long. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, 12 weeks. I don't have 12 weeks of time to commit to working with you. Again, it's in small chunks of time and it's not every week that you have a session with me. There's 9 video calls in that one and a bonus maintenance call after the fact. But you can see that Discovering Balance is going to have the most bang for your buck and we go through the
Mhm.
most amount of things. So I'm going to go through each of these programs. So design, this is when you have already decluttered, but you need help with the organization and the design of that space. So this is for the 3 most heavily used spaces in your home office workspace, your home entry or drop zone, and you're like creating a command center for all that paper clutter that just sits on your counter. So a simple system to control the chaos and create more function with the less visual clutter. So I'm going to talk a little bit about these pictures here. So the top picture is a busy working mom's son started kindergarten and she was overwhelmed with schedules and homework and paper clutter. So I recommended products and helped her design a command center for her son's stuff. And these second pictures is a before and after. A homeschool mom that's busy with her own business. She needed less clutter coming into the door and a more functional system. I don't actually have all the pictures. It was a very like the way her house was, we actually moved her all the shoes to the opposing wall, kind of back. If you kind of coming into the house and back, I should have included that
Mhm.
picture. But so a lot of the shoes are actually in a new kind of shoe organizer. She used that one and another one. So um, both of these clients reported less overwhelm and frustration and a more functional system.
Awesome.
Jumpstart is my 6 weeks of private coaching to minimizing burnout. Again, I say minimizing, not eliminating, and starting small. We declutter max of 5 small spaces in your home. So we're going through junk drawers, countertops, sinks, drawers, all the small spaces in your home. So this is if you're struggling to find time for you, you don't know where to begin with the clutter, you're feeling really overwhelmed with your home, and this helps you create sustainable routines and rhythms, breaking the clutter down into small, actionable steps. So Jumpstart, I'm going to talk about that first. Junk drawer up there. So that is a retired mom. She was overwhelmed and unable to find items she needed daily. And then the second picture is a busy mom of 2 that didn't have the time to tackle this project, but she made time with the encouragement, the use of a timer, and zoning the space out. These clients both had small wins, but a big outcome in improved functional systems, less clutter, and easier to maintain. Discovering balance. So if you feel like your home's out of control and you don't have time, or you don't know where to begin with the clutter, this is 12 weeks of private coaching to a clutter-free life. We declutter a max of 4 large spaces, which can be playroom, bedroom, closet, sunroom, dining room, all those big spaces. And it's taking back control of your home by creating more function with less stuff. So that top picture, this client was frustrated and overwhelmed at all the stuff, especially not being able to use her dining room table. Since decluttering her dining room, she reported feeling less overwhelmed, more grateful, and loves having a more functional space. She actually kind of used her dining room as a dumping ground, which I see a lot in a lot of spaces in people's homes. So, like, I know a lot of people get embarrassed sending me these pictures. Like, we do a lot of sending pictures back and forth and videos of the spaces. That's how I can kind of visualize what's there. Um, and so she used it as a dumping ground. She would put things that she was going to donate. She would just but it would be there for a long period of time and she would never get to donating it. Most of us have that space in our home that's like that.
Yeah,
So that,
I don't know if my system is much better, but I tend to put stuff in my trunk that I want to donate.
yeah,
But then my girls both do martial arts and they have these like huge martial arts bags and they've got chalk for the ninja gym and climbing and like I mean it's just so much stuff. And then eventually, we're like digging through the donation stuff, looking for, somebody's glove or whatever that fell out of their bag, and it's just chaos. So
yes.
don't recommend that either.
Yes, I can see where that would get like chaotic. I actually talk about with some clients their cars too, because a lot of people spend time in their cars. A lot of people are driving everywhere, and there's like,
Yeah.
if your car is chaotic and got stuff everywhere, it's going to be a little more stressful being in your car.
Yes, I know it's true. I always tell my husband that's my mobile office. I'm like
Yeah.
the amount of time my kids homeschool, but they have a lot of classes. And so I'm like, I'm taking them to this class and then this class, and then they have, a workout thing, and then they have a different one, and one dances and the other one does martial arts, and then they both have, ninja and we're climbing and I mean, it's like we're
Yeah.
everywhere. And so there's gotta be snacks and there's gotta be cards because we're inevitably playing games and stuff in between events. And
Yeah.
so it just all piles up. So I love that you do cars. I think
Yes.
that's important.
I need to talk more about that too.
Yeah.
um, The second picture is this client struggled with physical and cognitive limitations. She felt stuck and extremely disorganized. And after working with me, she was able to transform her sunroom back into her sacred space. Her confidence improved and she was able to tackle more spaces in her home. So look how much nicer that looks and how much
Yeah.
calmer. And she just went through the steps with me and was able to do it very well by, not by herself, but with the support of me.
And I would imagine that
Yeah.
having a few successes like that on, the 4 spaces or whatever that they're doing with you will be like the impetus for them to be able to carry it on and, continue.
Yes, exactly. And I give them maintenance tips too. So like being able
Mhm.
to maintain, that's why a lot of these programs involve a maintenance follow-up call, like after the fact, just to see how's it going,
Yeah.
where are you struggling, what's still like piling up, what can we change? So yeah, maintenance is a huge thing because that's like once you get that system down, like you said, like people shouldn't have to come back to me. Like, and a lot of times people who do hire professional organizers, they have to have maintenance sessions and have them keep coming back in, which is spending even more money and time. And you shouldn't have to do that once you know the system that I teach. You
Yeah.
won't have to keep spending money and time.
Yeah, totally. It's that teach them how to fish mentality
Yeah,
versus giving them the fish. Yeah. Smart.
exactly. So room makeover, this is my newest service offer. So I now offer 30 days of private coaching to declutter, organize, and design one large room in your home. So we are hyper focused on that one room. And in these programs, even though we're doing larger spaces, we still start out small. So it's not like I'm just sending you into the big playroom that, might look like this. And
Yes.
we do start out small. I zone out the space with you. We look and see what is being used, what is not, there's a whole process. So this is my newest offer and I really love this one because it's just like it's a big win for people and it's a
Mhm.
good place to start if you're not wanting to commit to 12 weeks, you can do it in 30 days to do one space. Um, so this mom of two, completely overwhelmed and frustrated with her kids' playroom and was hesitant to declutter virtually. However, with motivation and check-ins, she transformed her playroom into a more functional space, and her kids even help her now clean up because they know
Mhm.
where things go. So,
Amazing.
and she actually was one of my clients, not, a little bit ago, and she is still maintaining very well. So,
Awesome. I have a question, and I don't know if
yeah,
this is the best time to ask it,
go ahead.
but this is the second time it's popped into my head, so I feel
Sure.
like it's speaking to me. How do you deal with like the nostalgic piece? I'm sure you have
Yes.
people who like they know, and I mean, there are things that my kids are like, yeah, you can get rid of that, and I'm like, oh, really? Like, like,
Yes.
oh, it like kind of burns a little, like you want to hold it forever. How do you, and if you address this later, or if you rather do it later, that's fine. But I'm just curious because I know for me personally, there are certain items like I'll picture like my favorite photo of them from when they're little, and it's like, oh, they're wearing this little outfit, and so I'm like, oh, I can't get rid of this outfit. It's nostalgic, right?
Yeah.
But at some point, you're like, you just can't keep all of that stuff, right? So
Right.
how do you help guide people through that decision-making process where obviously once you let it go, it's gone.
Hmm.
And maybe it needs to be gone most of the time. But how do you help them through that?
Yeah, that is a great question because I'm wrapping up, so I'm not covering that. So I'm glad you asked
That's
that.
okay.
Yeah, so yeah, that is a huge question that I get. The sentimental stuff is very hard for people, and that's okay. It's okay to feel hard, and it's okay to not want to get rid of that stuff, and it's okay to not want to rid of it right now. And so I tend to tell people like those kind of things, like it just depends on where you're at. So like if you're ready to like start, pairing off with some of those items, then we would go through it together and decide, well, do you really need this and want to keep it or you know, do you need to go ahead and let it go? And letting go is a hard process and I really don't push people because I don't feel like that's my job to push people. I really ask the right questions, if that makes sense, to
For
see
sure.
like, why are you holding on to this? Is there a reason for it? And like, what, yeah, that I ask good questions to where I
Yeah.
kind of make you think, like, so what's the reason you're holding on to this? Like, what's the sentimental value of it? And I do have a lot of different, like how would I organizational items that you can get that you can
Mhm.
save these things so it doesn't take up a lot of space. So like if there are like some clothing items, you can make a shadow box. You could do like
Mhm.
a shadow box of a few of that like stage of life or childhood of your daughter to where you don't have to get rid of that one clothing item that's like super precious to you. You can also like with kids' drawings, I've seen people, take pictures and make a photo
Mhm.
book. I actually I don't keep a lot of that stuff, but that's me. I have one bin. I don't know if I'll be able to lift it up. I have like a file bin for each kid. And so it has their
Okay.
name on the front. And then it has
Yep.
like important documents. It has like kindergarten through 12th grade. My kids, I didn't say their ages, but they're right now they're in kindergarten and pre like 4K. So I have all the folders up to 12th grade already. So I will keep certain things for each of those years. And then like there's a school picture like folder. So everything's like in one bin for that
Mhm.
kid. And anything
Mhm.
special, sentimental for them, it goes in that bin. But there are so many ways to kind of work around like not having to give up everything that's sentimental. Because I know a lot of um, that's hard for people, and I acknowledge that, and that's okay. So,
Yeah,
and I
I
try to
love that
ask the
answer.
right questions. So,
Yeah, I think
but
that's great. And knowing, so my kids being 10 and 13, I had boxes for each of them. I was like, oh, can't get rid of this, can't get rid of this. And, when they're little, you're still like, you never know, there could be another one and all of that. So it's a little easier to justify. But what I have found for me personally is that, as time goes on and I revisit those boxes, I'm able to let go of more things over time. And so I feel like that's also important, where it's to your point, you're doing it when it's appropriate. You're not feeling pushed into that, because again, once it's gone, it's gone. But at the same time, holding on to the special tender things versus, every item that they wore when they were in that cute phase or
yeah,
whatever, it's a slippery slope. So I know that the slow process has been good and effective for us. So I love how you are saying that you approach it and help guide them through the process without necessarily, mandating that there's too much
yes,
stuff and they must get rid of it.
right. I never force anybody to get rid of things. If they're
Yeah,
like, I'm not ready to look at that at all, then I'm like, okay, well, how can we make this space still functional, or how can we store
sure.
these items safely to where they're not like, especially if you're not using them a lot, you don't need to see them. Where can we
Yeah.
put them so they're not just like on that main shelf?
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
unless you want
Well,
them to be there.
and it also makes me think, a lot of us have older parents. And so as you start thinking toward the future, it's like well, a lot of us will be getting things that we're going to have to make some hard decisions on. And so I feel like having that experience of going through our own stuff with our kids' things or our own things and kind of being able to filter and say, like, okay, it may remind you of your parents or who another loved one or whatever. But at some point, you can't bring all of it into your
Right.
home. You just can't do that. And so I think this is probably good experience for a lot of us who are in this age, where we've
Mhm.
got, aging parents and children growing up and the sandwich generation,
Yes.
that's kind of got its challenges, but getting all of these things into practice and into our life would be really important to do now.
Yeah, and I feel like this generation's a little more receptive to this process, whereas,
For sure.
people that are a little older, like I love my old people, I really do. I always loved working with them in the hospital and everything.
Oh,
They're my favorite, but they're not very they may not be used to technology. So they're not going to be willing to do this virtually with me. They
yeah,
may be stuck in a certain way of like this is, I earned my money and I paid for these things and these are, I'm keeping this is my stuff, like and
yeah,
so, like, it is that's the thing. It's a thing that a lot of us are gonna get a lot of stuff from our parents because they're not willing to change and they're not willing to and nothing wrong with that, but, yeah, it's a whole thing. I could go on a whole thing about that.
well, and a good reminder for us, for our
Yeah,
children, to maybe stay on top of our possessions and make sure that we're not just filling our homes with clutter and things that other people will be left to go through.
yeah, and then I'm not gonna even get started, but I did wanna mention storage units real fast.
Okay.
Um I feel like storage units are great, but they're popping up all over the place. I see them on like every corner now, and it just
Yeah.
shows how much stuff we own as Americans. And it's a little ridiculous, like I get it if you're moving. We've used a storage unit when we've had to move and then, relocate or whatever. But if you're just storing stuff there just to store it, it's a waste of money. And it's just building up dust. Like that's a whole nother thing. And I wish I
Yeah.
had the time to go into people's storage units and I would totally do it virtually, but that's just one of those things that's like, why are you
Yeah.
actually keeping all of that? Like, and
Yeah.
asking those hard questions. So I just
Yeah.
had to say that because
Yeah. No, I'm glad you did. It's a
I
very good
always
point.
I always see them going up more of the storage, and I'm like,
Oh
oh my
yeah,
gosh, I need to take
me
pictures
too.
of how many storage units there are just in my area because it's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it really is. Yep. You're totally right.
Okay, let's talk about a few testimonials. From some of my clients. So Allison helped break down all the areas and create balance and routine that make each focus area easy to tackle. She helped me find the right products and how to use them most effectively in the space we had. Working with Allison allowed me to talk about my hangups and think through realistic ways to be successful. And she motivated and inspired me to start my declutter journey with kindness and no judgment. I'm very big on I'm not going to judge you. I promise. I know that's hard. A lot of people are really scared to show what's behind closed doors.
Oh
And
yeah.
I promise I don't laugh, I don't judge, I don't say any comments. Like I'm very much like I actually love to see it. I know that's weird. I love to see the piles of stuff because I'm like, oh my gosh, I have an idea for that. I have an idea for that. Like
Yeah.
we can work with this. Like it's totally doable. So yeah, just wanted to say that too.
Very cool.
So I offer a free curiosity question and your goals for your home, and then coaching you can look up and also look at my website. All of my services are there. There's before and after pictures of my clients. I might have cut out for a minute. I'm not sure. Um,
Yeah, you
the
did.
internet was kind of weird. I'm not sure where it cut off. But if you want to keep in touch with me, my social media is Calm Cottage Coaching. I share a lot of free tips and tricks for moms, for neurodiversity, all the things. I give a lot of free out because I want to serve you and help you. So please connect
Yeah.
with me on any of those spaces if you'd like. And my website, again, has my services linked, has the curiosity call on there, before and after pictures of clients that I've worked with, and a little bit more about me on there too. These are just some of the resources that I used. So, How to Keep House While Drowning is a really good book.
Mm.
And then the other book that I mentioned about living with more with less, I have to look that up again, is another good resource. And then that's just where I got some of the research from. So, any questions? That's my cat in one of the laundry baskets that sits out sometimes, even at our home.
I love it.
But any
I think
other
that's
questions?
amazing. I feel like I did a good job of interjecting my questions as
Awesome.
they popped into my head. So I so appreciate you taking the time to answer all of that. Gosh, there was a lot of great content. And I obviously closely follow your social media and love everything you share, and have learned a ton from you just following that. But holy smokes, there was so much content in this presentation. So I really appreciate it. And I have like a really newfound appreciation, for lack of a better word, of the way that you're approaching this as a coach. It makes so much sense. And I totally understand what you're saying about that connection between your mental health and, your mental space. And you've got physical clutter and mental clutter. And I love that you have a background in OT, because I understand how important that can be for helping you. And I love that you've found this niche with your neurodivergent moms. And to your point, I think many of us are in that category. I mean, I think it's kind of my superpower is I'm like very squirrely. So I'm able to, manage a business where I have 100 business partners, where I'm constantly talking to different people and having to wear different hats and pivoting between what I'm doing. And then of course, being a wife and a mom and the taxi and the chauffeur and the, the chef and the, like the grocer and all of the things. We have to, and I feel like it's what makes me good at what I do. But on the flip side, it comes with a host of challenges too, right? Like I do have stuff on my counters, and my friends know me well, and they, when I've gotten to the point where I'm like, come on over, like, sorry if it's messy, but we live here, it's just the way it is. And so, it's clean, but there's piles of stuff, and we also homeschool. And so there's not an 8-hour, 9-hour chunk every day where everyone's gone. I can tidy up. It's like every time I turn around, there's more books and more stuff. So I think a lot of things that you've said today have inspired me. And I feel like I've already got wheels turning, and I just love what you're doing. And so many of those photos are just inspirational, and I can feel like the people's relief, just seeing the before and the after. Like some of those befores like stress me out, like that bathroom counter. Oh my gosh. Like, I don't know how that person looks like uses that bathroom ever. It would make me insane. But,
for sure.
We all have our areas that we need to focus on. So just appreciate you. I think you're amazing. I love how vulnerable and honest you are, and how you just share pieces of your life and your story, and, how it's made you do what you do and how you're good at what you do. And I think that's incredible. And I appreciate you sharing that gift with us.
Yes, of course. I love doing it. So I appreciate you having me on here and sharing a
Yay.
little of my story and how I can help everybody. And I
Yeah.
love it. So thank
Awesome.
you. I'm glad it was helpful for you too.
Yes. Brilliant. I love it. Okay, cool. Well, this video will be going on our YouTube channel, and we'll make sure to get it out to the people. So, of course, however you find this video, make sure that you're following Allison. She has tons of great content. She does work with people everywhere. So not just in the Charlotte area, but beyond, of course. It's the beauty of the digital platform. And I know so many people appreciate that and can really, take advantage of somebody who's a little more flexible because they don't have to come to your house and schedule things and all of that. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay. All right, friends. Make sure you give her a follow and check her out. She's got great content out there. And we will see you guys next time. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye.